I'm Allie. I came out after 20 years of marriage and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melissa, and I have 2 kids, and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles. Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles.
I feel like we just did this.
We did. It's been less than 24 hours.
But we're preparing. We're being prepared because next weekend's Pride weekend. It's going to be busy. I want to have an episode in the can. So
yeah. And we had our book club.
we did. It was great.
Yeah. There was a lot to that. I left that meeting with like a new perspective on a lot of different things.
Yeah, that is for sure. The book is called Safe Keep, if anybody wants to read it. It has a lot of lesbian sex in it.
Yes.
And
The whole point of this book club.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, some deeper meaning behind like what's actually yours in life.
Yeah. I think also one thing that now we're still talking about today is the thing about like the male gaze and how what people look at, like and this is generalizing, so don't send us 50,000 emails about how I'm wrong about this, but it's like there is a formula that men tend to like.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it follows a very clear cut set of rules that if you look like this, men will stare at you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true. Like I hadn't thought about that like with women in a public setting, if I'm looking at a group of women, the range of what's really beautiful and hot it's so varied. Like there's no common denominator. It's not like, oh, if you're blonde and blue eyes, all the women want you.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're this, all the women want you. It's completely varied, which I find fascinating because it's like why we're totally different than men.
Yeah. And you're right. I see this a lot. I've been watching the new season of Love is Blind, and it's, the concept of that is that they're getting to know each other through a wall. You can only hear each other's voices. And it's like, sometimes they just can't help themselves, men and women, to kind of like put out little things about what the other person could maybe look like or give an impression of what you look like. Like for instance, this guy is like, yeah, I played professional football very briefly. And he mentions that he's a kicker. And if you know anything about football, kickers are typically pretty skinny, lanky guys. They're not the big, huge, football players. Exactly. And I think this woman was actually a little caught off guard when she saw him. Like she's thinking burly football player.
Right.
Meanwhile,
she got a little guy.
Little guy.
Yeah.
And then, but on top of that, she's talking about how she was a cheerleader in high school. But
so he's making assumptions about her.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like you can't get away from like making those assumptions even in those situations and like wanting to give an impression of what you look like. And I think you're really right. Like most of these men, I know I'm making a broad stereotype here.
I know.
They are thinking, oh man, I hope that she's tall. I hope she's thin, long,
I don't even know if they care
hair.
about tall. It's like she needs long hair. She needs to be thin. I don't know if they care about tall. They want boobs, long hair.
Boobs, yeah.
They want, and I think that
pretty
it's like,
face.
if you have boobs and long hair and like maybe like pumped up lips,
mm-hmm.
you're going to get looks by the majority of men. Of course, that's not everybody, but I would say a lot of men, there's a stereotype to it. And if you line up 10 women, I'll tell you which ones the men are looking at.
Yeah.
If you line up 10 women, I don't know who the women are going to want because it's all over the map.
Exactly. And I think that kind of goes towards what we've mentioned in the past of like being attracted to someone's energy.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like we're more evolved than them.
It's almost a little bit. I
don't
like
want to say it, but yeah.
But again, not all men, because I think some men, they truly do seek out women that are like deeper and,
well, and you can be deep and still have all those things. I have a lot of beautiful straight women friends. They're gorgeous, but they're also smart as fuck. They're like running companies. They're not. So it's also, you can be both. I'm just saying the guys don't even need to know about that part. And they're already paying attention versus like if I'm walking through the mall, you're not getting my attention for those reasons. I'm not even noticing you're there. In any event, book club was amazing and that was really fun. I love how smart our friends are. Like there's so many like thoughts on the book that I'm like, I didn't think about that piece. And like, I forget that I'm in a room full of very smart women. And that's
Yeah.
fun because in your life, there's usually not that concentration of really smart people.
I absolutely agree. And that was like a thought that I had sitting there when I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember the last night. I was like, we could take over the world with like the
we
people that
really
are in this
could.
room.
Like, yeah,
Like
it's like heads of
everybody's so
everything.
smart and everybody
Right.
brings something to the table. Like,
Right.
look out.
Look out.
And I feel really lucky too to like be surrounded by such smart women. And the fact too that like we have such honest conversations during that book club, you know.
I know.
I
Like
don't
I said to one of the people in the group this morning, I'm like, I love how you disagree with me constantly. So, anyway, I think that, yeah, it is fun. It's fun to be challenged. It's fun to see another perspective.
And I think it's one of those things too that I wouldn't have done that in my quote straight life. You know, I would have felt really uncomfortable to go sit in a room with women and talk about a book. Um,
Yeah. I was in a book club back then, but it was more of like a drink club. It was a
mm,
drinking club.
drinking club.
So I don't feel like we really got into great conversations about the book ever. It was more just a drinking club,
Okay.
like Fight Club.
Did anyone did anyone actually read the book?
Yeah, I mean, we would all read the book and then we'd get there and the drinking would start and
Because
then
we
it,
do have a member of book club who doesn't read the book. She just
I
shows up to listen
know,
to
what in
us.
the world? I just learned that for the first time last night. I'm like, what?
I realized it last time. I was like, why are you not saying anything
Yeah.
at all? She's like, oh, I didn't read it.
But why not just read it? Because like the books are good. If you read, then the book, you're gonna like this.
Well, and I can
This
see
though, I was confused. I have a friend who's an author. She's published. She's brilliant. She's a writer. She's an editor. She's all the things. She's not in our book club. But I texted her before the meeting. I'm like, hey, any thoughts on this book? She reads everything. And I was like, any thoughts on this book before I go to book club? Like, give me your insight. I'm just curious because she's so wise. She's the one who told me about all fours.
oh, okay.
So anyway, she was like, oh no, I haven't read it yet. Just give me today and I'll read it.
Give me today.
Give me today and I'll read it.
What?
Read it in a day.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I like was like, dude, don't worry because I'm getting ready to like I'm gonna be now too busy to even deal with it. She's
Jeez.
like, yeah, I can knock this out today.
That is
Oh yeah.
insane.
Right?
Like,
Like it takes me weeks.
and I mean, just even thinking about the Audible, I think the Audible was like 8 hours long,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Like, God, that's some speed reading.
Give me today and I'll tell you.
I do
Yeah.
really like being able to just listen to audibles because if I had to sit down and read like the physical copy, I would not have time to do this. So,
No, right. I think too, like with that particular friend of mine, like sometimes like we'll be talking about a book and I'm like, yeah, I hated this about her, like the character. And then she'll be
mhm.
like, why? And then it's almost like her questions back to me reflect how ignorant I am on, but not meaning to, but it's like I'm forced to reconcile things about myself that are backwards
Mm,
in like my
yeah.
opinions. And I sort of like appreciate that when people do that to me because I don't feel like it happens that often. We have an exciting guest today that Melissa secured. And I have to say, Melissa sent me like a little tidbit about our guest. And I was like, holy shit, like we have to get her on the show. So, Melissa, walk us through how we got to have Joy.
Yeah, so Joy reached out to us and sent us an email and basically said, I'd love to hear a story from someone with a similar background and story of mine as a Black Christian mother coming out at 49. And I won't give away all the details, but she sent me a little bit of her story. And I was like, your story's interesting. Like, I want to hear from
We
you.
want
So,
this.
Joy, thank you so much for agreeing to come
Oh,
on. I
yeah.
really appreciate your willingness to share your story.
Yeah. And thank you guys for having me. I mean, really, like I said, I was expecting you to like redirect me to something, like go to episode, 36 and you'll hear something. And you guys came back like, no, you're the story. I was like, oh, okay. Then I hope I represent other women that will relate to me well.
There's going to be a
Absolutely.
ton, I
And the
guarantee
best
you.
way to do that is just to be truthful, which is what I haven't been doing for years.
Mm.
Start back, like take us
Years.
there.
Okay, so I don't even know how far back to go. So, the earliest time I can think about when I thought about girls, I was probably in middle school.
Same.
But my my father was a pastor.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
My grandfather is a pastor.
Oh God.
My Baptist pastor in a black church,
Oh
Mm.
boy.
and which is just another layer,
Yep.
because you were sent to hell. There's no question, there's
Right.
no caveat, there isn't any forgiveness. You're simply hellbound.
Mm.
And so, and I just sort of pushed out my head. I just pushed out my mind. I'm like, I'm
It's not even
little.
an option. So why am I going to even think about it?
Right. It's not an option, but it's also not even a thought because you're taught not to have that thought. So
Right.
it's not a thought. So, I grow up and fast forward to college. I never have any experience. First of all, I never have an experience with a woman until I got married.
Oh, interesting. And then take us, what state are you in during all this time? Like, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Ohio, in a suburb of Ohio,
Okay.
which was like maybe at the time of my high school, we were probably 2% black, 2% of the whole high school. I started a black studies group at my school because we had one black teacher my entire K-12, and so you represent a lot. I'm a classical pianist. I spent my life in this, making sure you present yourself a certain way.
Because you were the minority of the minority.
Correct. And then I did pageants. I was in like the, Miss America pageant, and I was on all these things. And so
Oh,
you walk, you walk a certain way. You know what I mean?
yeah, of
Like,
course.
and you do not tarnish, because I was raised, you represent God first, the entire brown race,
Yeah.
and your family and yourself. And so you carry this
Yeah.
everywhere you
Fuck.
go. So
Wow.
forget your sexuality, like forget all that crap. You're
Yeah.
just trying to, I'm 49. So the time period. You're just
Yeah.
trying to bring your whole culture up with you. Anyway, I go to college, and I go to Alabama State University,
Okay.
because I wanted to go to an HBCU. And of course, at that time, there was one lesbian on our dorm that I knew of. She happened to be white.
Accepted? Was
And
she accepted or like kind of
no,
down on?
no,
Okay.
Mm.
no. Now, there's a funny part. I got there early because I was in marching band. So I'm kind of a tomboy. I don't know if you probably can't tell, but I'm
No.
straight tomboy to my core. So she was the only white girl on the dorm, and immediately became friends with her. Like we just got each other. Didn't know she was a lesbian. Had no clue
Okay.
until she was caught with another girl, and they kicked her out of the dorm.
Whoa.
What? Wow.
So sure as hell, I'm not saying
You're
anything.
done. Yeah.
We weren't together. I didn't even know that
No,
we
and
weren't
had
together.
you confided in her like lightly? Like
No,
I kind of look
God
at
no,
women. Hell
Mm.
no.
no. Because again, at that time, it was still repressed. It was still not a. It was a thought, but never spoken. Because again, I'm deeply in the church. I'm playing for
Mhm.
churches. I'm doing things with kids. That's my
You're not
life to
about to
this
risk
day.
it. And then I have to say
Right.
really quick too, like you're my age and we both grew up in the Midwest, but you went to Alabama, ended up at Indiana University. But
Yeah.
I don't think they would have kicked a lesbian off my floor. So that's already telling me where you went is
Yeah.
more difficult to be gay. So go ahead.
Well, yeah. So I think it's a cultural thing as well. You know, even now, in the Black community, from what I know, and I don't have any LGBTQ. I do have some LGBTQ friends, but I don't consider myself in that community. So I don't know what's in that community. I don't know. I don't know. And those that I hang with, it's accepted, but it's not talked about.
Okay,
And
no,
in my age
when you
group,
say culturally, you're talking about the Black community,
yes,
how they see being gay.
yes,
I've heard this
yes,
a
Okay.
lot.
I have too.
yes,
And I don't know if
yes,
you can elaborate on that, but I have
Yeah.
heard that it's like, you've already got this one thing that you're being judged about, and then on top of that, you're
right,
being judged within your own community for being
correct,
gay.
Correct. And it's because, so I can talk about it some, and it's because, you go back to, and I know I'm trying not to get too deep into history, but I'm a big history buff, guys. I read everything.
I love it.
But anyway, so, it comes back into being brought from another continent, being brought over as slaves. And part of the process, there's a term called bucking, Bucking. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Never.
No.
And so what bucking was, it was to demean the black men. And what they would do was they would sodomize the black men in front of the women in order to make sure you understood he lost his manhood. And it was
Wow.
to demoralize him. And so from that, you're introduced to a homosexual lifestyle. And so in our culture, sometimes to be seen gay, and this generation, it's not, it's different with my kids, it's different.
Yeah.
But with this generation, it's like, oh, you are part of the residue of our slavery ancestry.
Wow.
That's interesting.
And so you are being brainwashed and you are being taken in by this evil culture that turned you this way because this is not how we were born. And so you carry that history. And it's really a trauma to a culture.
It's a trauma. It's a huge
Absolutely.
trauma. There's no other way to
Wow.
It's a
look at it.
huge trauma. Yeah. And so for Black men to be gay, it's completely, I mean, it's like clutch my pearls,
Yeah, like there was the
Um,
Oprah episode that everybody saw back years ago, and it was like
yes,
eye-opening for the world of like
yes,
down low and these men that black men
yes, yes.
who, yeah, you do not.
You do not, because you are bringing down the entire race.
That's so
And
interesting.
so,
Gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
because
And,
and I'm sitting here reflecting on the gay black men that I know, and every single one of them has been closeted at some point in their life.
yes,
And
yeah.
still really isn't fully out,
It's not. And and this is why I was saying I want to hear somebody like me on your show. There's another layer that unless you're walking in these shoes, you go through the world not ignorant of it's a whole nother life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's already enough that I walk through the world. I mean, I'm extremely confident. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Oh, I
not
can tell.
I
ashamed who
feel
I
that.
am.
I
Okay.
feel that.
But I wasn't always like this.
Mm-hmm.
You walk through the world making sure you speak properly and you walk upright and you look people in their eye and you demand respect and you carry this 24 hours a day everywhere you go until you're in a room full of other brown people and you're like, oh, finally, my God, I can let my hair down. And so
That's,
you add
yeah.
your sexuality on top of that. And
Yeah.
it's like, now who's going to accept me?
When you're sitting in
So
the dorm with the woman at Alabama,
yeah,
you're enjoying her friendship, but you're not even thinking about the fact you don't, at what point did you realize she's gay? Only when everyone else did?
yeah, I had no idea. I had no clue.
She
Yeah.
wasn't
Me and
like tomboyish. She wasn't like,
No, she was beautiful. And I wish I
yeah.
could remember her name. And she was so artsy. See, I'm artsy. I'm a pianist. I'm a creative. So it was her energy that was just like, I get her. And she was in theater makeup. So she did all these elaborate like faces, and she used to do my makeup for the competitions. And she would bang out my face, and I'm just like, I'm digging this girl, but not on anything other than friendship.
And then you see her get kicked out of the dorm for this. I'm
Oh
sure that's
yeah.
like just another layer of the internalized.
Yeah, but I hadn't realized, I had not even entertained those
Mm,
thoughts coming to fruition at that time.
gotcha.
So that didn't suppress anything. That was just like, oh shit, you
Data.
know, yeah. And I
Yeah.
knew a lot of Black guys who were gay, but they told me, like they were safe with me.
They
And
trusted
when
you.
we went, correct, when we went into the world, there's no way in the world I would have said anything. I dated a guy who was clearly gay, but I was his decoy for his mom. We were great friends, and he tried to kiss me once. He almost threw up. And I'm like, listen, dude, you do not have to do this.
Yeah, like,
it's like,
I'm
and
saying,
we are still,
yeah.
yeah, we're still good friends to this day. He didn't even know. He doesn't know that I'm with a woman. He has no
Mm.
clue.
Oh, he
Wow.
probably loved that.
Yeah, he doesn't know. So, so and I mean, we could talk about the trauma forever, but I'm not there anymore. So my partner now, who I met in college, she was my roommate. There was nothing there, nothing sexual at all. She was from, she's from Detroit, very, she was everything I'm not. I'm from the suburbs. She's from the streets. And we just clicked. And believe it or not, I dated her brother for
Of
a
course you
while.
did. Yeah.
I did. And because we were just determined to be sisters, we were determined to be in each other's family. Anyway, she didn't, she was there only 1 year. And then she ended up leaving because she didn't stay in school. And that was it. So if you ask her, when we had to part, we knew each other 1 year, but it was like I knew her. Like we were such good friends. So I didn't see her for several years. I ended up finishing in college. She went back to Detroit, had a whole life. I ended up meeting my husband through church, and we're both musicians. And we get engaged, and this is weird, you guys, but the first thing I had to do was find her.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow.
Wait,
Exactly.
why? Like in your
I
mind,
don't know why.
Hmm.
I wanted her to be a part of my life. I wanted her to be a part of this
of your wedding even.
experience. Yeah. Like I wanted her. So I go back
And are
and
you
I'm
saying
going
this to
through.
the husband? Are you saying like, hey, I have this roommate in college. I really want to find her and reconnect?
No,
No.
no.
Mm.
But I do tell him that I'm interested in women. I don't
Mm.
keep any secrets from him. None.
Okay.
I had some other choices that I made in my life that I thought could have prevented me from having kids. And I didn't want to go down anybody's aisle with a lie.
Mm.
My husband knows me. He knows me inside and out. You can't tell him anything he doesn't already know about me. Anybody. And we're like that to this day. So there's no secrets between us. Um, but for some reason in my gut, I needed to find her. I wanted to find her, and I found her. I found a letter from her that I wrote to her mom. I got her mom's number. I called her mother. Her mother told her. She called me. I
Wow.
invited her to my wedding, and she came to my wedding. She and her brother
Mm.
and his fiance. She wanted to make sure I was getting married, and came to my wedding. And she couldn't be in my wedding because she had just had a house fire, and she couldn't be in my wedding. And I'm like, okay. So I get married. I'm so happy she's there. We're the last one to leave our wedding. We didn't consummate our wedding that night because I was exhausted. People
Mhm.
lie when they say you have sex in your wedding. I don't know. Maybe you guys did. I was extremely tired. I was like, I'm not doing shit. Leave me alone. So I wake up the next morning, and the only thing I could think about was calling her. I'm laying in the bed. He's right
I know,
here.
with your brand new husband who's so excited he just got married.
You
And
wanna
I
talk to
call
her.
her.
Mm.
And you already didn't sleep with him the night before. So he's really feeling pent up and ready to like get this thing going.
He
And you've got this
wasn't.
woman on the brain.
Well, first of all, my husband's 15 years older than I am. So let me put that in there. And so he wasn't tripping. He wasn't anything. He was just
Mm.
like, cool. And I think he liked the fact that I liked women.
Yeah, it's like sexy.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. So anyway, I called her. I never forget this. I will never forget this. I rolled over and called her, and I just wanted to thank her so much for coming. I was so happy that you took your time to come see me and to
Mm.
be part of my day. And I didn't want you to leave town without knowing how much I appreciated you. And to this day, she was floored that first thing in the morning, first day I'm married, I call her. Where
So
am
you're not
I?
feeling any kind of way about her. You're strictly, if
The
you're really
way
honest with yourself, are you really
I'm
feeling
kind
like
of reading it
just
like it's like
nothing?
you're just solely connected to her at this point, but you're not in any way thinking romantic.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly it. It was just something in me. Like
Yeah.
I just needed her.
Not I want to kiss you.
And
Just I want to talk to you.
no,
Okay.
Mhm.
no, none of that. I just, again, remember, this is
Right. Of
Mhm. Yeah.
extremely repressed because it comes with a lot of consequences for
course.
me.
And you just got married.
And, and I just got married. But you know what? Had I thought about it, I probably shouldn't have gotten married.
Mm.
But I did love him.
Of
I do
course.
love him.
Yeah. It was
And
part of your story.
it was part of my journey. I
Yeah.
wanted children. I have 5 kids, and I knew I wanted kids. Like I knew I wanted this life. At least I thought. Anyway, so fast forward year one,
Damn.
as a gift, bad gift, my husband gets me a female.
Oh, what?
Okay, say more, obviously.
And this girl was just some girl he knew. And I'm just like, okay, because again, I had never explored this side of my life. And now I'm married. So I'm like, there's no holds bar. If I'm an Aquarius, if you know anything about Aquarius, everything is true. So it's like I'm open. I'm open. So he brings me this female and she's cool, whatever. We have an experience. Really, I didn't have any experience because it was lopsided. And it was cool. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Never want to see you again.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it wasn't what I expected. So at the same time, I'm like, I wonder, my partner's name is Carmen. I'm like, I wonder how Carmen's doing. So I call her and I'm like, hey girl, what's going on? We haven't seen each other since the wedding. How you been? And she was like, oh, I'm going back to school. And I'm like, oh my God. So she's in Detroit. I'm in Ohio. So I'm like, I'm coming to visit.
Hmm.
So I get in my car, I drive to visit her because we're friends. And that's where everything sort of picked up. We're friends and we're talking. And one night we're at her apartment. Again, I'm just visiting. And I'm like, you know what? I've had this experience with this female. And she was like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. And she had an experience with a female. So she confided that to me. And I'm like, but I've never seen a female body. Never seen it. Never seen my own body. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and I don't know. I was surprised at how many women have never looked at themselves. Like until
Yeah.
later in life, I never knew what I looked like.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I'm playing doctor. I'm like, hey, we're friends. You mind
Oh my
if I
God,
see
this
you?
sounds like a move. I don't know.
Right.
It sounds like
You know what?
It's in the playbook.
I
Right,
know. Throw this in the playbook.
but I didn't know I was making a move, y'all. I'm so serious. I had no idea. So, but I was the aggressor. I mean, I'm really a girl. If you see her, she's more like little more masculine, but I'm really dominant more than she is. So anyway, so she was like, yeah, I guess. Okay. So I'm like playing doctor and I'm like, wow, what's this? And I'm like, what's that? And
Carmen's
I'm
getting
doing all this
fucking
stuff.
turned on. I can tell you exactly what's happening.
I don't know. We never talked about, I should ask her, but we never talked about like how did you feel when I was doing that? She was just like, oh, that's fine, whatever. So
This is like I've never heard anything like this before. I played
Right.
a lot of doctor as a kid. I don't this is like next level. And I wonder too, like subconsciously, you talk about it being repressed. You had the experience with the woman. You can't just throw a woman in front of me and I'm going to want to have sex with her. Like, so the gift of the woman is like kind of strange in itself. But
yeah,
then to that's kind of the underlying thing. And then immediately again, we're calling Carmen. Clearly there's like a repressed feeling of I want this
Like
woman.
almost this like underlying thing that you're
Underlying
going
subtext
through
of like,
and
yeah,
connection to
but you
her.
guys, listen, it wasn't sexual. It was not sexual. When I
till
was
doctor
calling
started.
Carmen, well, the doctor wasn't,
The doctor
it
wasn't even
was, it was,
feeling it.
no, it was anatomy. I can tell you when it became
Yeah.
sexual because I know when it became
Okay.
sexual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It-
Okay.
yeah. So this is just how it all started. So we're I go back home, by the way. I go back to Ohio
Nothing
and
happened.
she's nothing happened
Wow.
And wait, time
because it,
out. And Carmen, you said had one experience with a woman, but she also was living straight. She was hetero, living a
yes,
heteronormative life.
yes,
Okay. Keep going.
yes.
So you go home.
She's dating a guy. She's dating this
Yeah.
Mm.
guy that I meet nothing. So I go home and we're still talking all the time because that's how girls are. He was my roommate. We were catching up on a lot of years when I was still in school and she was gone. And so we're just talking. So it wasn't until I go back to visit her another time And we went out, we had some drinks, and I'm like, hey, we get a hotel room. And I'm like, I want to kiss you. And she's like, I want to kiss you too. So we kiss. And
And
I'm like,
before the hotel room, were you out? You're like partying.
we're partying.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
I'm 24. So we go to this room and at the Residence Inn. So I ask her to kiss her. She says yes, I kiss her. And everything in me was
Mm,
like this. And
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh crap, what is this? What is this? I don't even know what this is. I don't know what this is. But if she lets me, we're finishing all of this,
Oh
everything
Mm.
boy.
now. And it was fireworks, spark plugs. It was like, what the hell did I just experience? We both were like, oh crap. I mean, when that energy was exchanged, first of all, we fell asleep instantly.
Yeah.
And I think I cried.
Yeah.
like,
All the feels, all the
like
feels.
it was everything. It was like
Yeah.
all of
And then
this.
your husband sort of had given you permission. So it's like you
He
also
did.
weren't carrying around this guilt because he had
No.
already kind of laid the framework of it's fair for
Yeah.
you to explore this side of yourself.
Yes. No.
But you got
Yeah.
to just like
No.
enjoy this thing with her.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no. I've never felt infidelity
Right.
for me. So anyway, so we had this experience, and it changes my life. It changes everything. But again, I've only been married a year. Now she's coming to the mix toward the end of that first year. She never leaves. She never
Wow.
leaves. We're together now. We bought a house. Like
Yeah. Like it
Wow.
never, it was like always she was your person
she was my
while
person.
on in public you loved and had this other person.
Yes.
How talk about like that had to be painful for her in some ways.
Well, we talked about that. So we've been through many years because again, she's been with me now through all my children. She's their godmother, she's in their life. She takes them on vacations without me because it's important to me that she has a relationship with them outside of me.
How many years are we talking?
I've been with her and him for 25 years.
It's
Yeah,
Wow.
now.
amazing.
And I knew her before him because she was my freshman roommate.
Yeah.
The lot has evolved, and we've gone through the heartache and the pain and the breakup. Me trying to release her because I'm like,
Yeah.
I want you
I'm
to. And
married.
I'm married and I'm having children, and I want you to have that experience if you want it. I don't want to hold you back. And then please let's not ever forget this other layer of I'm going to hell.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 God.
Got just one life and then it's over and I'm going to hell.
And I'm going to hell. This entire time, I'm like, God, why do I love her so much? But I can't because you told me I'm not allowed to love her, and I have to be with him.
Was it ever an option? Because you are such a strong person. Like, was it ever
Was
like,
what an
fuck it,
option?
I'm gonna get divorced?
Yeah, that was like last month.
Okay.
Right. But I'm
But just
saying like
now
early
became it.
on. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just 20 years
It's
later that
taken
becomes an
all that
option.
time to process.
Yes, I just told my
Yeah.
mom, January 27th, my birthday's the 29th, that's how I remember. I was 46 and I was getting ready to turn 47. And so all roads lead to 50, ladies.
I
All this
I know.
healing,
Trust
all
me.
this stuff leads to 50. So at 47, I'm sorry, at 46 in 2 days, I'm like, I have to tell my mother because I needed her to have, this is my thought, that she would have 2 years to be disappointed in me, a year to maybe stop talking to me, but she loves me. So she would come back around before I'm 50.
Mm.
Wow.
And that was my thought. And my thought was because my mother's sister died 2 years ago. And I'm like, I don't want my mom dying, never knowing me, never having the opportunity to love her daughter no matter what, or despising me. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
wanted her to have the opportunity. So anyway, there's so many layers to this story, but yeah, that's how Carmen and I got together. And after that, we were inseparable. Like
How
she's
did your
in
mom
every
react? Which,
girl. Let me tell you, I wrote my mom this. It was originally 10 pages, and I was able to get it down to 6. And I read it to her. I was so nervous. I'm crying. I read it to my mom. And when I got finished, she looked at me. She goes, okay, do I react now? I said, yes. And she falls out in the bed. She goes, oh no, oh no. She's dramatic. And she looks at me. She likes this. She goes, is that enough? I said, Mom. She goes, oh, honey. She goes, I knew that years ago.
Wow.
I said, well, why didn't
Yeah.
you say anything? She goes, because you were so cool. She goes, I wasn't worried about it. She was like, and you and her have worked things out. And, you know, she was like, I love you. I love her. I want you to be happy. And that's your life.
How did you feel when I mean,
Yeah.
that must have been such a
Ah,
weight.
Weight just lifted.
you guys, I walked like it was more of a weight than I thought.
Yeah.
Because
We've said that too.
you don't know the weight you're carrying until it's
No,
gone.
true.
Absolutely.
And so when I finished telling my mom, then I told Carmen. She had no idea I was telling my mom, but we always said this thing. We always said we will tell people who we love as we choose, and we will support each other in that sharing.
That's
Yeah.
really
So
sweet.
whomever she shared with, she would come back and tell me, and I'll say, okay, that's where we are now.
Yeah.
I'm going nowhere. I'm with you in this fight because we never know who's going to lose somebody in our relationship, in our world.
But in your 20 years, did you ever have what you're dating or not dating her? You're kind of with Carmen and was there ever
Yes.
a period that you were like, she kind of was dating and you were getting very internally jealous or scared
Or was she always
Never,
committed to you the
was
whole
she, yeah, was
time?
she always
never.
committed to you?
She's been committed to me the entire time.
Wow.
She never dated around.
Another woman?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Damn.
That's
That's
amazing.
a,
no. But I've never been with another woman in my life other than the woman I was with as a gift. I've never dated. I've never done anything.
I'm curious. Your story reminds me a little bit of Whitney Houston and her
Mm,
relationship with her best friend. And
oh,
yeah,
I
I
don't know
have a
anything about this.
theory
yeah,
that is what led to Whitney's drug abuse, is that she had to internalize that relationship and not be fully public about it. And that was
yeah.
like her true love.
And that's possible. You know, when it comes to Whitney, I feel so many things with her because she's one of the greatest I've ever heard in my life. But you know, Bobby was not the best thing for her, and
No.
he was already doing drugs before them. So anyway, I don't know about that. I think that's very, very possible because you do repress a lot. You repress a lot of things. So yeah, she's the only woman. And here's the thing. So I when I came to your podcast, I was kind of hesitant because I don't consider myself a lesbian
Hmm.
Why?
because I still look at men and go, they're gorgeous. Now,
Okay.
I don't want one.
But
I
that's how
got
I
one.
feel too. I can see the beauty, the handsomeness in men,
Yeah,
but I don't want to be with them intimately.
yeah.
But
I
I also
don't.
think that's where a lot of confusion comes in with figuring out your sexuality, is
Yeah.
is realizing that you can find both people attractive, and it just kind of is a spectrum on how deep that attraction goes.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's we got to look at the generation. You know, all these terms are in play now. At first,
Yeah.
I thought I was polyamorous. So I was going down that aisle, and I'm like, no, I don't think that's us. Like, I don't think that's me. I don't think that's him because he thought that she was going to be just my friend who I had this experience with. He never expected me to like fall all
Hmm.
in with her.
Yeah.
Whoops, sorry about your luck. So,
Right.
that's what he was kind of thinking. And so then I thought I was bisexual for a very long time. And now it's not even about the sex. It's about we're just so connected. You know, we are so connected. She is the one person that I still get excited to see every single day.
Hmm.
Wow.
Like every day I get to come home and she comes home from work and we're like puppies. We're just like, hey, like, how are
Yeah.
you? It's like, it's so good to see you. And she's so beautiful. And I'm just
I
like,
love
this is my
that.
life. Like, I get to
Yeah.
have this
Yeah,
life.
that's
Like,
really
this is
Right.
beautiful.
real.
How long have you
Like,
two now been completely committed to one another with no in the picture?
well,
A friend.
I'm not divorced.
Okay, you're still
I'm not
married.
divorced.
Okay,
I'm married. We're separated, and that's lopsided. I mean, this is all very new, ladies.
of
When I
course.
sent you that text, that email, I probably had I just told him last month. I just woke
Mm,
up and was like, I'm done.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just let's have a separation. He's not still in agreement
of
for
Hmm.
course.
separation.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I gotta keep moving. I told my children.
How were they?
My oldest was like, good for you, mom. Good for you. She's 22 and she's like, good for you, mom. Live your life. My son was just like, oh, okay. When
Of
I told them,
course.
I
I know,
I
that
told them,
tracks.
yeah, I told them about the separation. Now, my older ones know obviously about me and Carmen, and the younger ones probably too, but we haven't had that conversation yet. So I haven't had that official conversation with my 14-year-old, but she's not stupid. But I haven't had that official conversation because I don't, I'm a mom. I'm mommy first. And it feels so hypocritical because I'm on one hand, I'm telling my kids, live your whole life and love who you want to love. And on the other hand, I was like, but not me. That's for
Yeah.
you all, but it's not for me. Because I felt in some way like I want them to live a normal
Easy.
experience. And kids do what they see more than what you say. And I didn't want my life to be, again, why do I feel it's negative? I wanted them to have the option of having a life of the man if they so choose and not follow mommy's footsteps. Sounds so sad, but I mean, that was how I felt for so many
Yeah,
years.
but you're also raising them in an entirely different environment, I'm sure,
Right.
of
Yes,
not having that church thing breathing down your neck. I'm very curious as to how, with the aspect of religion coming into play, how did you reconcile that?
Yeah.
How did you rid yourself of those feelings of feeling like you're going to hell just for being who you are?
I didn't rid myself of those feelings. So where I am now, because I'm still very much involved in church, I just found a church that doesn't hate people.
Which
Hmm.
okay, so a different faith. You're not still Baptist.
No, I am UCC, United Church of Christ.
Okay, yeah.
They love everybody,
They do love everybody.
I'm I'm very involved with the church. I work with the kids at the church. I am extremely. I'm a believer. I don't consider myself a Christian because I know Christian to me sometimes they're so mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the mean Christians, and I refuse. So I'm a believer
Mhm.
still to this day. And for my 50th birthday last year, I started reading the Bible. I've never read the entire book.
Mm.
Wow.
It's because here's the thing, I'm sick of people telling me I'm going to hell. I want to know what the book says for myself. What does it
Yeah.
exactly say? Now, and I'm not finished reading, and I have some more months because my birthday's not until January. I'm doing really good. But I'm reading a lot of things. And what I now understand is that our creator loves his creation, period.
I
He
love
knew
that.
me before I was born. He knew who I was going to be. He knew who I was. He put this in me and he didn't
Right.
make any mess. I'm
No.
not a mistake.
No.
And
Absolutely.
because he loves me, because I am loved, then screw the world.
Yeah.
Screw all those who are telling me you're going to be this and you're going to be that. Screw all y'all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of you. He loves me. I love myself and I can now be me.
I
Oh, I
love
love
that.
that. Yeah, that's a perfect place to wrap it. I love that.
Yeah, I know like how hard it's probably been over the
Yeah,
past 25 years to kind of like face all this, but I feel like you have so much
Yeah,
love in your life. It's
I
really
know.
beautiful. And the relationship that you have with Carmen just sounds amazing. So good for
it
you.
is. If anything, I just want to, anyone listening who looks like me and sounds like me and understands this journey, if anything, I would say
Yeah.
love yourself and be okay in walking in your complete truth because it's so freeing.
And the right people will walk with you. The wrong will
You
fall
know,
away, and it doesn't
yeah,
matter.
Yeah.
yeah. I told my friends, those who love me, and they still love me.
Of
And
course.
they're just like, Joy, we love you, like no matter what.
Yeah.
But it's still a journey, like his friends and, the people that we knew together. And, I'm in a different state. So that's helpful. I'm not under where he is all the time. And who even knows who's going to listen to this podcast? Who knows? But as far as people I know, my circle of people, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
It's just I'm excited. I'm excited and I can't wait to walk into 50 clear and healed or more
Yes.
healed and really embracing all of me. I'm excited.
That's
So
Yeah,
amazing.
it comes through.
that's
And
it.
shout out to Carmen for staying and not wavering because it would have been a
Yeah.
scary commitment.
Yeah. It's really
So
beautiful.
Yeah. All right, ladies. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, Allie and Melissa. You guys are the
Thank you.
best.
Bye.
Bye.
bye-bye.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandallie@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Allie, ALLI, @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.